Hey, welcome to SI Now. I'm Amy Campbell, Robin Lundberg, and personally, I spent my weekend talking about rewatching and reenacting that LeBron James shot. Robin, I was jumping around my apartment like a little kid, right hand impersonating the king. Anything else we can possibly say about LeBron at this point?
There really isn't. I mean, I think that's why you see it go to LeBron Jordan or stats like LeBron already has more playoff buzzer beaters than Jordan or Kobe combined. I think if I'm going to say one thing, it's pretty amazing he's at the peak of his powers offensively to the point where there isn't a shot you can give him he can't hit. People were complaining that he got that shot. That's a tough shot. He just made it look casual, like one of us throwing our laundry into the hamper.
Oh gosh, I wish that's what I looked like when I threw my laundry into the hamper. Personally, I could keep talking about it, but I know that I'm not supposed to. We have other things to talk about, so we will move on. In the West, the storm that is the Warriors keeps gaining strength as their best starting five back on the court. A lineup that has been nicknamed the Hamptons Five because, of course, this is the crew that met KD in the Hamptons to convince him to head to Golden State. I think this is weird, and so does Steve Kerr.
Part of your confidence in the Hamptons Five as a starting unit?
I still am amused that we just matter-of-factly call them the Hamptons Five. I know it's. I just feel strange, like as a coach, saying, "Well, the Hamptons Five played really well tonight." Like I can't say that, but you can.
Oh, I love it. Well, whatever you call this lineup, Robin, do you think there's any answer for it?
No, I don't think there is any answer. If you want the honest answer, it's probably the most devastating combination of five players the NBA has ever seen. They can go small, be quick in helping and recovering while not surrendering rim protection because they have Draymond, because they have KD. They have a lethal isolation scorer in Durant. They have Curry who can create and hit the three. They have the 3-and-D god in Klay Thompson. And Iguodala is like the least mentioned guy in the group.
Also amazing.
The one thing I'll say is Houston has done enough this year where they deserve the chance. They're going to get it whether we say they deserve it or not for us to see. Right. They've been good enough where you go, okay, you know, they have wings like Ariza and P.J. Tucker. They have Capella, who's a unique big. And then, of course, they have Paul and Harden. So maybe, possibly, they've got a chance. But if I'm telling you the honest answer, I don't think anybody's got a chance against that five.
I don't think the Rockets do. I hope they do. I would like to see a better matchup than we've seen against or with these two teams in the past few years. But you're right, Golden State has an answer for everything. Just when we think we point out a weakness or, I don't know, this might give them trouble down the line, they rotate somebody else in, Steph comes back, and they just level up like this storm that keeps getting bigger and bigger. I thought Coach Gentry's quote after the game was perfect. You aren't going to beat the Warriors if you aren't scoring 115 points. And the Rockets are sometimes, but not all the time, and so I think it's going to be tough. I don't think they can do it.
That's the ultimate vindication for Mike D'Antoni, though. You have to outscore your opponent in order to win. I mean, really, all you can do is hope that Andre Iguodala and Draymond Green miss open three-pointers. That's the way to guard them. Obviously, Donovan Mitchell wasn't happy after the Jazz lost to the Rockets, but apparently he has beef with another NBA award aside from Rookie of the Year, as he vented his frustrations about James Harden on the way to the locker room.
That's what he needs to MVP.
So does he have a point? Does Harden need the refs to be what he is?
I don't know. I think I looked up some free throw stats because I was curious. And in the playoffs, James Harden is second with the most free throws attempted. He's made 7 of 8. Do you know who is third? It's Donovan Mitchell. He's made 7 of 7. So I think this is a case of the pot calling the kettle black. I like Donovan Mitchell's attitude, but I think in this situation, as a rookie, maybe in the heat of the moment, maybe that's not the best time to walk by the reporters and say something you know they're about to put onto Twitter. I don't hate the fire behind it, but I think maybe it was not the right time to say that.
And you can't have something to say on every topic without sometimes it backfiring, right? And you're right. In this instance, he picked the wrong example. Sometimes Harden does that cheap stuff where he's initiating the contact or grabbing his opponent and still getting to the free throw line. But he only shot 8 free throws in that game, and that wasn't the reason they lost. They're losing to the Rockets because the Rockets are better than the Jazz. Simple as that.
Right, and I think credit to James Harden for knowing how to get to the line more. I don't know why that's a bad thing. This is part of the game, right? He's kind of become a master at this. Maybe we don't respect it, but points are points.
Well, there is a line there. I mean, he is very good at it, and he deserves credit for it. But sometimes when he's the one initiating the contact, I think the refs have to figure out a way to either make that an offensive foul or let it go.
Absolutely. Well, we'll move to the NFL now. The Steelers' newly drafted quarterback Mason Rudolph is responding to Ben Roethlisberger's criticism of the team for not taking players that could help them, quote, win now. Rudolph said if he was Ben, he would probably say the same thing. He's just looking forward to getting in there, learning the system, and being ready for whenever his time comes. Robin, do you like Rudolph's response to Ben's comments?
Yeah, I like Rudolph's response. Roethlisberger's comments are ridiculous.
Yeah.
This is somebody who has threatened retirement repeatedly. So, of course, they're going to think about his replacement. And I don't think he's getting enough brushback about these comments. Imagine if it was Cam Newton who had said this sort of thing. You know, Roethlisberger has gotten a lot of leeway in his career in many instances, and really, somebody has to check him when he says something like this. You can't say what he said otherwise and then pull this hard left turn and all of a sudden say this sort of thing. And I guess these quarterbacks are more insecure than you would think, because Brett Favre didn't want to teach Aaron Rodgers. You know, Tom Brady was obviously threatened by Jimmy Garoppolo, and now Mason Rudolph hasn't even played in the NFL, and Ben Roethlisberger seems to be looking over his shoulder.
Well, I think one of these people looks mature to me, and it's Mason Rudolph with the mature response there. And of course, what is he going to say? He's not going to start beef with Ben Roethlisberger. That's the wrong move as a rookie. But I do think that Ben Roethlisberger could have been a little bit more mature about this. And like you said, why are they so insecure about new guys coming in? You should be confident in what you're doing, especially a guy who's threatened retirement a couple of times. I completely agree. Really quick, we got to talk about the Yankees. They've won 15 of 16. They're coming off sweeps over the Astros and the Indians, just a game behind the league-leading Red Sox, and just in time for Boston to come to town. The Robin, everyone got worried by the slow start, but let's overreact the other way. Are they the World Series favorites now?
Well, baseball doesn't work like other sports where you can simply say one team is the favorite, but they are amongst the favorites. And sure, I can go on record saying the Yankees are the World Series favorite. There's no harm in saying that because they have as good a chance as anyone. This was insanely predictable. I remember in the newsroom when the struggles were early in the season, I said, the only thing I can guarantee about this is there will be a run the opposite of their struggles. We're in the midst of it right now with the Yankees back of the baseball card.
We're now joined by our NBA playoff analyst, John Starks, for a segment we call the Shot Clock. I will pose a series of questions. You will each have 24 seconds to make your case to me. I will decide who is more convincing. I get all the power. You guys got it?
Got it.
I better be able to understand that concept, yes.
Already a point for Robin. All right, so a week ago, the Sixers were the favorite to come out of the East, but like all of that confetti in Philly, that was a little premature. They are now on the brink of getting swept by the Celtics. So who on the Sixers is most to blame for the 0-3 hole? We got 24 seconds on the clock. John, we are going to start with you. Go.
I say all of them, from the coaching to the players to the equipment guy to the people that sweep up the court. I think all of them. You know, they came in with big expectations in order to take Boston out, but nothing went well for them. You know, they made mistakes down the stretch, especially in game number 3. You expect Boston to win game number 2 and possibly game number 1, but game number 3, they had to have that, so didn't do it.
All right, it's a team sport. Robin, what do you got?
I think John's right that there's a lot of blame to go around. Ben Simmons has probably been the worst player of the big name guys. Brown hasn't had a great coaching series head-to-head against Brad Stevens. But if I'm singling out one player, it's Joel Embiid, because they're relying on him the most. They keep going to him offensively, and they aren't getting much return from those post-ups. Plus, the Celtics are making him guard in space, and he's failing at it. So he's trying to do the most, and they're coming up short.
Okay, 2 strong cases, but I think that you have to put a little blame on the confetti guy for that 7-minute delay. So I'm going to go with John, all of them. A point goes to John Starks on this one. Let me just make sure I keep score here so we get everything straight, and we will move on to question 2. The Raptors, evaporating really in the playoffs. The top seed in the East could be swept tonight by the Cavs. Hard to believe. So do the Raptors need to blow things up in order to thrive in the future? We're already looking to the future. We got 24 seconds on the clock. We're going to start with you, Robin. Go.
That's the easy thing to say, just blow it up. But what exactly do you do? I would explore trading DeMar DeRozan, sure. But if we're thinking binary, it's championship or bust, then the Raptors are a failure. But if we really want to take a different look at it, couldn't you say the Raptors have maximized what they have? Did anyone really believe a DeRozan-Lowry team was going to win the championship? They're just meeting the end when it's supposed to come.
So this is just what we should have expected all along, I suppose. All right, John, we're coming to you. 24 seconds on the clock. Go.
I don't think you should blow them up. I think they have a solid team. I think that the coaching have to do a lot better during these playoff games. I don't think they did a great job. I like seeing Lowry break through. He really broke through in the last game. So DeRozan, obviously, is going to be some friction there because he didn't get a chance to play. But I think they have a solid team. They just need to play a lot better.
Okay, very, very tough, again, to decide. But I have to go with Robin because I think they need some freshness there. So a point goes to Mr. Lundberg here. All right, let's move on to question 3. We are going to look ahead again and basically assume that the Cavs and Celtics are going to roll. They will face each other. So look, LeBron just keeps doing what seems to be impossible. So can the Celtics actually beat the Cavaliers? We'll put 24 seconds on the clock. We're going to start with you, John. Go.
Yes, definitively, yes. I think their coaching is very good. I think the team is mentally tough, and it takes a mentally tough team in order to be a great player like LeBron. Obviously, you know, they have a long road ahead of them, but they have the athleticism and the capability to go out and score with Cleveland. So I expect for them to give Cleveland a series, but, you know, LeBron is LeBron. So I wouldn't be surprised if Boston won.
Okay, I'm very impressed with both of you for perfectly timing to 24 seconds as well. We're going to put 24 seconds back on the clock, and we're coming to you, Robin. Go.
Haven't we seen this movie before? We're all going to be fooled again, just like people were before the Raptors series. Dread it, run from it. Destiny comes all the same. The Celtics cannot stop LeBron James. That has been proven. As good as Brad Stevens is, he can't scheme away LeBron because there are no flaws in LeBron's game. Plus, there's a specific matchup the Cavs have, which is Tristan Thompson has owned Al Horford, and that could play into this series.
John, unfortunately for you on this one, Rob and I are both obsessed with LeBron, and I will never pick against LeBron, so I have to give Robin the point on that one, and that's not your fault at all. That's just you couldn't have won that walking in here. But good argument. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, on to the next. Rockets are up 3-1 over the Jazz. We talk a lot about this three of Harden, Paul, and Capella, but honestly, most of our attention does go to Harden and Paul in these conversations. So is Clint Capella possibly the key to the Rockets' success? We'll put 24 seconds on the clock. We're coming to you, Robin. Go.
He's the X factor. He's the sleeper. He's the big that maybe presents unique problems for the Golden State Warriors. But is he the key to their success? No. Chris Paul and James Harden are the key to their success. You can't give Harden the MVP and then not say he's the key to the success. And you got Chris Paul, a top 10 all-time point guard alongside him. Everything goes from those guys, including Clint Capella.
Yeah, I guess if value is the MVP, then maybe value would be Capella if he's more important. John, we're going to put 24 seconds on the clock for you. Go.
I think he's very important to their success. Without him on the court, they have no shot blocking out there. He gets all the little layups that Chris Paul and Harden when they drive to the basket. So I think with him off the court, they play a lot different. And so I think he is a very important key to them being successful, especially against Golden State.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with John on this one. I think that you need to have Clint Capella there. The other two can do a lot, but it's that little extra that changes the way they play.
Yeah, let's see how they do without one of the other two.
I know. We're tied up. We're tied up heading into the last question, and that's the most exciting thing, unlike what we've been seeing in these playoffs here. So the last one, I don't even know if I can do this without laughing. Okay. The starting five of the Warriors have been dubbed the Hamptons Five. So I will try to ask you this with a straight face. I'm coming to you, John. Is the Hamptons Five a good nickname? 24 seconds on the clock. Do you need 24 seconds? Go.
No. I'm trying to figure out where this Hampton Five came from, but I was recently explained to me that it was about Durant and the guys going out to Hamptons here in Long Island and getting him a chance, you know, getting him to sign with the Warriors. So I had a no. I don't know how to even explain that.
Right, we don't need that much time. We are going to put 24 seconds back on the clock for you. Do you need it, Robin?
Yeah, I can explain why it is.
Explain this.
All right, here we go. They go from Death Lineup to Hamptons Five. That feels like a downgrade, but it's just obnoxious enough because you look at that starting five and you go, this isn't fair. How can they have all five of these guys? And then they call themselves the Hamptons Five on top of it, so it just makes you angry when you're watching them because the Hamptons Five's gonna beat everyone. The Hamptons Five. So it works.
Would you be scared of the Hamptons Five?
Well, I mean, not if we were in the Hamptons, but if we're on a basketball court, sure.
I think I have to go with Robin for seeing the
You
veins,
can have it.
the veins bulge out of his face while looking at the camera. So 3-2, very close, but Robin Lundberg is the winner. John, though, before you go, I want to ask you, Donovan Mitchell had some comments critical of James Harden, specifically for the way he's able to bait refs into calling the foul. So when you were playing, was there a guy that you were just like, damn, he always gets the whistle?
Reggie. Reggie was like
didn't need
James
24
Harden.
seconds
I
for
didn't
that.
know. I didn't need 24 seconds. Reggie was like that too. You know, he did a good job when he gets in the lane, hitting you. I don't care if you touched him. Yeah, you know, like he's from Hollywood too, so he knows how to act. So Harden is obviously from LA, and so those guys are in the same territory. I think he learned from Reggie.
All right, good stuff. We love getting your time, John. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right, 2 former NFL cheerleaders recently filed federal and state complaints over their working conditions. The women offered to settle their claims for $1 if they could meet with Roger Goodell. Our Priya Desai sat down with their lawyer, Sara Blackwell, to discuss the women's cases and if the league has responded.
Ms. Blackwell, thank you for joining us. You gave a deadline to the NFL to respond. That deadline has come and gone. What, if anything, did you hear from the league?
Well, they denied the settlement demand, so we did not settle, but they did send me a letter which said that they were interested in information and recommendations regarding the cheerleading program. And I've been in touch with the NFL attorney about setting up some kind of meeting or figuring out how we're going to work that out. So I'm very optimistic that they will actually take this seriously, I hope. But the good thing is that since they denied the settlement demand, that if they aren't going to take it seriously, I still have the right to file lawsuits or bring the claims against the NFL on behalf of Kristen Ann Ware and Bailey Davis, as I had previously planned. So I did not have to give away our rights to sue, which is part of the settlement demand was a risk because we were giving away those rights with the hope that they would come in good faith, but they could have come and done nothing. But this is like I get the best of both worlds because if they're serious and we actually get to make change, that's the main goal. That's what we want. And I'm very optimistic that they're going to do that. But if not, then I still have the right to go through the litigation process instead.
Your clients' cases are seemingly very different. Former Saints cheerleader Bailey Davis says she was fired after posting a swimsuit pic on Instagram. She also says that cheerleaders have to adhere to different rules than the players, while your other client, former Dolphins cheerleader Kristen Ware, says she quit after allegedly being discriminated against for talking about her Christian beliefs. You represent both of these women. What's the core issue here?
Well, what's interesting is that these women are being treated differently than the men from one aspect of posing in a lingerie to the aspect of virginity and Christianity. So it is a lot of gender discrimination. I mean, on both of the cases, they're held to completely different standards than the men, the football players, and not in like situations such as pay or different value to the team. We understand that. But whether they can have a religious faith shouldn't be different for the men and women. And whether they can be in a restaurant where a player should not be different for the men and the women. So I think it just proves the fact that because both of my clients are so vastly different and their experiences were so vastly different, that we're not here with like, we want them to be head to toe dressed like monks. And we're not here saying that they should be allowed to, be completely naked either. We are being reasonable in the sense that we just want the cheerleaders to be treated in a fair, professional manner and free of gender discrimination and harassment.
Sara, here's a little bit of confusion. Who actually employs these women? Is it the NFL? Is it the individual teams? Are they independent contractors? Can you clarify a little bit?
Well, yes. All employees of every team is considered employed in the NFL, according to the NFL rules and regulations. So even though it's not their direct employer, they have to abide by the NFL rules and regulations. So they're considered in the employment of the NFL. The different teams will either directly retain the cheerleaders or they outsource them to a third party. Just because they outsource them to a third party does not necessarily mean that they're not considered an employer under the law. And that's a test that you go through when you're litigating. So yes, some of the cheerleaders are 3 times removed from the NFL, but they're still considered employed in the NFL. And sometimes they're directly employed by the team and only removed by 1, but still employed in the NFL.
How much have you heard from other women, former cheerleaders, current cheerleaders, and some of the things that they've gone through?
I've been hearing from a lot of cheerleaders over the last 6 weeks, and there's so much commonality in their issues and situations that are unnecessary, and it would be free for the NFL and for the teams to change what's going on and make this a 2018 kind of employment rather than a 1910s kind of employment. But they're also different in a lot of ways. Like some teams do things that are vastly different than other teams, but there are commonalities within all of them that I've heard. And I've heard from basically cheerleaders from every team and some from the NBA. And what's interesting is that I've been hearing from women who have actually made complaints about sexual harassment or discrimination, but they settled and signed an NDA saying they couldn't speak about it. Well, every cheerleader on every team signs an arbitration agreement with the team, which says you can't tell anyone, you can't file a lawsuit, you can only go through arbitration, which isn't public. And when you do, everything's confidential and private. And then if they settle and sign an NDA, nobody knows that they've actually had a problem or signed these things. So how many women are there out there that actually were harassed, were subject to discrimination in some way, have these horrific stories like we heard from the Redskins? We don't know because they're sweeping them under the rug as they come out.
And the NFL is aware of those NDAs.
I'm sure they are. I mean, if they're not, it's their responsibility to be aware of that. I mean, the teams and everybody employed in the NFL, which is everyone, has a responsibility according to the NFL rules and regulations to abide by the federal and state laws. And I mean, I have found multitude of rules and regulations from the NFL that applies to all these employees that they're breaking, and the NFL's not doing anything about it. And if they're making these girls sign these rules and that they're bound by these rules and regulations, then the NFL also has not only the right for them to be bound by these, but also the responsibility to make sure that the other employees are also bound by those and they're treated in the right way.
So you heard from the NFL basically in the 11th hour. If nothing comes from that, if no meeting takes place, what's your plan?
Well, you know, I really do care about change. I'm different than most lawyers because I'm poor and I don't care about money, which is sad. But I really think that there is an issue here. I really think that there are problems within the cheerleading organizations. And it's a problem that can be easily fixed by changing the rules and regulations. And it would be very simple to come in and be collaborative with me because I am an employment lawyer. I have represented businesses. I've updated their rules and regulations, but also I have this unique amount of information about what goes on in cheerleading. So let me bring that knowledge to the table and work with you on making this fair and professional and free of discrimination and harassment. And if that happens, then the NFL and the teams will save money in the future by not being sued by these women who are being subject to these things. So it's actually going to benefit them if they will meet and actually do this in good faith. If they're doing this as like, we're going to do this PR, pretend like we're going to meet with you, that's fine. Then we'll go after the money issue and we'll do it like most lawyers and just be brutal and go after everything. But first chance is we really want to come to the table and actually make a difference here, because that's the goal. It doesn't matter if my clients walk away with money if there's no difference being made in the NFL. What we care about is women and this being changed for them.
Yep, should be interesting. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Ms. Blackwell.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Justify may have won the race, but there was only one real winner of the Kentucky Derby. That was a Texas woman who won $1.2 million on an $18 bet at a San Antonio racecourse for correctly picking the winner in 5 different races. That's almost as much as the prize money won by Justify's team. What would you be doing today if you were her?
Well, Robin, I would be right here. There's nothing I love more than SI Now and being here with you. I would probably buy some really nice shoes later, and then I would take a vacation.
I like that she didn't let anybody know her name. She's like, this is my money. I'm going to spend it as I wish. Nobody's snooping into my business. Yeah, I bet on all the correct horses.
Can you imagine? What would you feel like waking up that morning? Like, what would you feel like?
As Larry David says, pretty, pretty, pretty good. We'll be back same time, same place tomorrow. In the meantime, check out @SI Now Live on Twitter.